The numbers are 8, 9, 11, 34, 54, 78, 48, 3, 25, and finally 42. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
New this week in Home Store and More. All bath mats are all half price. That's right, half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price bath mats are gone, they're gone. Also, all swing chairs and all Hotel Collection duvet sets are still all half price. But when all the half price swing chairs and all the half price Hotel Collection duvet sets are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
If you know the beauty and skincare product that suits you best, you'll find them at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From moisturisers, cleansers and toners to day creams and night creams, McGee's have the top brands you know and love, like Lancôme, Clarins and La Roche-Posay. Also Elizabeth Arden, Vichy, Nukes and many more. All at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at mcgees.ie, where the best costs less.
Looking for your perfect exclusive wedding venue? The Red Door Country House is nestled on a 4-acre site on the shores of Lough Swilly, located in Fawn Buncrana. We are offering a reduced package price for remaining dates this year. Contact info@thereddoor.ie for all your wedding inquiries.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
And you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. We've switched studios and we've switched streams, and we're still broadcasting live, of course, across the northwest and beyond. On air, we're continuing our series of election debates. Now, our focus is on the Glenties electoral area. There are 6 seats, there are 16 candidates, and we've had to split it into 2 to as much as possible, give everyone a fair amount of time. Today, Kellie Rodgers of Sinn Féin was invited, unable to attend. Michael McClafferty, an independent, also invited, unable to attend, or chose not to attend in either case. I'm not really privy to the reasons for that, but we do have 6 very strong candidates in studio with us to discuss the issues most affecting those people in the Glenties electoral area. And I just have a list in front of me, and I'll go down that list and perhaps give each of you a minute or a minute and a half to sort of outline your stall, so to speak. Starting with you, Micheál Cholm Esbuig, an independent, a sitting councillor looking to retain that seat. Why should people put you back in? Good morning to you.
Majin Greg, agus Majin da Nierheri Ligalier. Thanks for this. Looking forward to this. I suppose this kicks us off. Look, why should people vote for me? Beyond my charm and charismatic personality, Greg, is that what it is?
You might have to come up with some other reasons there, Micheál Cholm, I think.
No, look, I suppose to be serious about this here, because we are talking about something that is quite serious, and I do take it very serious. I would view myself, and it's difficult to talk about yourself, but very committed. I've been involved in politics since I've been knee-high. I'm very committed to my local community. I have 10 years as a councillor, but many, many years prior to that, working on local campaigns, national campaigns, and politics in general. I'm accessible, honest, extremely hard working. And I suppose the one thing that very much drives me, yes, as a socialist Republican, I am driven very much by love, and that's the bottom line. It is love for people, and it is that where my passion leaves me, certainly, like I says, as a socialist Republican, to have a strong ideology and how I see the world and how I see community and how I'd like to see it develop. Mm-hmm. But also, when you're doing that one-to-one, and I have a background in youth work and family support, which was a great addition and a great help to me when I became a councillor, and not spending that one-to-one with people, individuals and families who do need more than maybe that general work that we do as councillors, that, you know, roads, infrastructure, piers and harbours, working on the islands. Obviously, we're going to get into the nook and crannies of that work around housing and the failures, but also to talk about, you know, the positives as well.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. That's you as an individual, and we'll get into the issues as the morning wears on. Kevin O'Donnell, running as an independent. Good morning to you, Kevin, and just outline why you want people to give you their number one or the highest preference, I suppose.
Yeah. Good morning, Greg, and good morning everyone here with me, and good morning to all the people listening and tuned in. My name is Kevin O'Donnell. I work in the Apple Green Service Station in Glenties. I'm chairman of the Glenties Harvest Fair Committee, and I'm part of the Glenties Development Group. I want people to vote for me because I have a passion for people's welfare and way of life, and if I can help make life in any way easier for the people in our constituency, I will unturned every stone possible to do so. I'm currently in my work position for the next few months, but if elected, I will give council my full-time commitment, and this will be my full-time job. I am very approachable person and have worked in the retail and hospitality sector all my life. My punchline for this election is West Donegal matters, and we need to listen to the people. Let me say here very clearly, I am certainly not a politician, but I have a very clear vision of people's needs, but most importantly, listening to the people every day of the week at my work. Let me as well wish every candidate here in the constituency and in my area all the best with their campaign, because it's a big commitment to put your name forward for election.
Agreed. Thanks, Kevin. Joseph Molloy standing for Fine Gael. Joseph, good morning to you.
Morning, Greg. Marty Mai, the Nesterly League. My name's Joseph Molloy. Standing for Fine Gael. I'm a manager of my local family business, Spar Supermarket, Derrybag Post Office and a coffee shop. Been involved in the business since I finished college. I'm married to Karen with 2 children. I suppose with my business background, dealing with people on a daily basis, I see similarities between the two, business and politics, and trying to help people, seeing their needs and wants, trying to help them with those sort of things. Action and results. I do see a lot of things that could be done in our local area, especially with regards to tourism and that, to try and keep our youth employed in the local area. As I say, tourism is very important. There are other issues that I'm seeing on the doors where we're going around canvassing, and I'm taking note of all of those. I do believe that our area needs a strong voice at council level, and hopefully, you know, to push things on to Dublin to try and get more funding for our beautiful county here in Donegal.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That's Joseph Molloy. And we're going to hear next from Jimmy Duffy, standing for the Labour Party. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning, Greg.
Tell us why you think people should vote for you in this election in a minute or so.
Yeah, well, to introduce myself, I'm Jimmy Duffy. I'm a native of Carrickfinn Island, and I born and bred there and still living there. I have dealt with the public and general public for many a year, from my time working in the factories in Giolla to running a number of pubs and takeaway and employing people, and also again when times got tough, I got onto a local employer, the community employment scheme, and I took it aboard to get the local hall, the Annager Hall, which was vacant at the time, and I took it aboard myself just to work for the community, and I had that hall up and running. I had classes in it, I had grants coming from X, Y and Z. We had it really going well, and that was all done for by me for €20 extra in the week. but it was my love for the area. And then about 12 years ago, we started a historical Facebook group. There's about 6,000 people viewing that every day in, day out from all corners of the world. And we amassed around about, in the last count, it was 30,000 plus historical images and all sorts of comments to do with our local area, our heritage, our culture.
Okay. So, Jimmy, we'll work through some of your other achievements and I suppose what you hope to achieve. But I mean, you're outlining there, presumably, your work in the community and the work you'd like to continue to do as an elected rep. John Reilly, standing from Fianna Falls, travelled over from Burton Port to see us today. John, welcome to the programme. Good morning to you. Why should people vote for you?
Good morning, Greg, and good morning to all those tuned in. I want to thank you for the invite to this morning's debate and giving me the opportunity to introduce myself to the electorate. I'm John Reilly from Burton Port. I grew up in the area, which gives me an insight into all the issues that we hope to discuss here today and the needs and requirements of that area. As an owner of an SME, I understand the challenges facing the sector. My own business is in hospitality, and through this I see a massive opportunity to further expand the tourism industry in West Donegal. But major investment is required if this is to be achieved so we can create employment and growth. And one of the main issues that raised on the doorstep I've seen over this last few days is the social and affordable housing. And we need to address this urgently, and I know we will be discussing this here today. I'm fortunate enough to be elected to Donegal County Council. I will apply my lifelong work ethic as 40 years as a fisherman to ensure proper representation for the people of the Glenties area. And I know we have a lot of topics to discuss here, and I'm looking forward to it.
Great stuff. Looking forward to your participation. Last, not least, of course, is Anne Sweeney, running as an independent. Anne, thank you so much also for calling over to us, and perhaps you could just outline why you believe people should vote for you, and just make sure you lean into the microphone so we can hear you nice and clearly, Anne.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me, Greg. I'm a retired business person after 40 years in the hospitality industry. I'm well versed in the unaccountability of those who hold power in Ireland, and at this stage I have no fear in speaking up for the people of Glenties in terms of issues that I would like to see changed. I'll start by getting the gender issue out of the way, in that we have 37 councillors. Only 3 of them are women, and 2 of the women are not running again in this time round. So in terms of bringing in a fresh perspective and a different perspective to the table, I think it's very important that we have equal representation, and I'm throwing my hat in the ring to make a start in that. However, my big issue is holding power to account, because in Ireland there's a very centralised decision-making system. And this is because of the party whip system. Regardless of who you vote for in this election or in any election, if they are party political, it makes no difference, because what they decide to do is dictated by head office. So I don't consider this democracy, I consider this a form of dictatorship. And what I would like to see is lots of independents coming together for the greater good as opposed to the party good. So we'll get that out of the way. The big issue that I'm finding on the doors is housing and mica, and these 2 things affect every single aspect of life. What we have is a system of self-regulation in Ireland, and we saw what happened with the banks, with the self-regulation, where it didn't work and the taxpayers had to bail out the banks. We have now seen with mica that the banks and the insurance companies are being let off the hooks by the Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Greens, because they're actually pandering to them so that no decision actually gets made. what we're going to see probably is that the taxpayer is also going to have to pay for the mica situation, but it looks like they're going to delay any proper decision making until after the election.
Okay, well, let's stay on that topic because we've got a good sense of who you are. John Reilly, from a Fianna Fáil perspective, and just on the handling of the defective concrete crisis, there is a great frustration out there that for some reason the banks and the suppliers and the insurance companies are being let off the hook. Do you accept that your party is letting those with very strong interests and some responsibility off the hook on that issue?
Well, we're luckily enough, if I could say that we haven't really had a big mica issue in the Glenties area, and I wouldn't be up to speed on following your show and everything. I follow it. But no, I do agree that the people, there has to be 100% redress scheme. Like, I do believe that personally. Like, it's not the person that built their house. It's not their fault that they have the problems now. Like, if you take into the issues now, even in the Glenties area, and I know people is trying to sell their house, even though the mica's not an issue, they still have to pay for a mica test.
Yep.
So why should the person selling that house be hit with a bill of €3,500 to do a test? So I agree it's a serious issue, and I think there should be 100%.
Why does that not trickle up, though? Because there seems to be a general consensus amongst anyone you speak to that the scheme needs to be enhanced. It needs to be 100% redressed. That's cross-party and none across the county. But the penny doesn't seem to be dropping in Dublin in that regard.
Yeah, well, I don't know why, because it's not an awkward... They didn't cause this problem. If I bought a car from a garage and there's something happened to the car, it's not my problem. I bought it in good faith. The council and everybody have to stand up to the plate and help the people, because they're in a serious situation with walls crumbling around them, and I don't believe that's true.
Yeah. And I suppose Kevin O'Donnell is an independent. You know, we're all of the one county. We all have skin in this game. As we've just heard from John, everyone's affected in terms of buying or selling property. Would you be of the view that such a scheme needs to be brought up similar to the Pyrite scheme in North Leinster?
Yeah, well, as you trickled on to there, if this was the situation in Dublin, I just wonder how it would be dealt with. Now, we're in Donegal. A lot of the cases are in Donegal. In Glenties area, I know there's houses in Glenties. What the problem? If there's 30 houses in my hometown, it's 30 too many. And there's 30 families that are affected, and there's 30 families that should be looked after. So I would support 100% redress. Now, John tippled on the point as well, for people selling their houses. They have to do a mica test now, and it's costing $3,500. I had a family member that sold a house a year ago or 2 years ago, and yes, the test had to be done, and it cost them $3,500. So that to me is not fair.
Joseph, what's your view?
Personally, I believe there should be...
Sorry, I should use people's full names. It's not your fault, but this is Joseph Molloy, sorry, Fine Gael, just to be clear. We're helping to spread the word of the candidates as well,
Personally, I agree with a couple of the views here that it should be dealt with far quicker than it has been. I don't see how it's fair that people are suffering the way they are. This has been dragged out far too long. Again, I believe if this issue was in Dublin, that would have been dealt with far quicker than it has been. Again, it's just another symptom of Donegal being left behind. And I genuinely do believe they have to help these people out.
Yeah. Joseph, I must put it to you, though, that you're standing for a party that's in government that, to follow through on your words, is leaving Donegal behind.
Well, there's more than one party in government here right now. There's 3 parties there. I'm standing as a local candidate in Donegal. Local
but you can't ride 2 horses. You can't sort of take the lift from having a party behind you and then sort of try and disengage from them.
I can
when
honestly say
going
I do
gets
believe
tough.
generally that they do need to move on this quicker. Who is the Minister for Housing right now?
Fianna Fáil.
Yeah. If you want to blame Fine Gael,
Blame John.
Green Party.
Right, okay, we'll come to that in a second. Listen, thanks very much. Micheál Cholm, on the issue of defective concrete. I just wonder how affected Glenties actually will be in 5, 10 or 15 years' time, because there's not a border that this problem stops at.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine what it'd be like to live in a house with Pyrite or Mica, I suppose is the collective name that we're using at the moment. And when you think back when Councillor Frank McBarty were talking about this here, and he was dismissed, and it's coming clear now that he was fairly on the ball on it. And yes, I fully support 100% redress. Why wouldn't I? And I see there are candidates standing here in Letchicannel. You have Thomas Sean standing, and Dennis in our own area, and clearly a big issue for families. And I was just interested in what Anne was saying there in terms of what she was saying about, well, hold on a minute, what about the banks and the insurance companies? Because they're quite content to take our money every year, hundreds and hundreds of pounds and hundreds of thousands when we're paying back our mortgages. And they are. And unfortunately, under the capitalist system, that both parties here share, that it's about looking after the interests of the private and companies, so to say, the banks or the insurance. And a lot of people are saying about at the doorstep that why are the government not doing more? Why isn't the banks being forced into a position, and the insurance companies? Yeah. And I think that's a really important conversation.
Well, they're in a very nice position because...
But right now...
Yeah, go ahead.
Just finishing this, sorry, Greg. And right now, I do believe that what we need to do as a state is to move in there, look after the interest of the homeowner, and then we have to go after the banks. But unfortunately, I feel that there won't be any great will there to do that. We only have to look at Apple and the tax and the court cases and Europe. So I don't think there's any great will, because we're talking about billions of pounds, but more importantly, not just the finances. We're talking about people's well-being. We're talking about people's lives, how it's been destroyed and turned upside down. And I don't want to be a tokenistic gesture to anybody, but I couldn't imagine what it's like for the families.
Jimmy Duffy, your views before we wrap it up with Anne, who started this conversation.
Yeah, well, Mica is in the Glenties electoral area. There's a number of houses on the islands. There's a number of houses in the middle of the county. I actually was at a council house was built for I would say a vulnerable person, and I just happened to stop at the house, and he showed me around the house. He was put his hand into the crack that was in the house. That house was built it was an SI house built by the council in 2002, and it only started crumbling a couple of years ago. So this issue is sitting there. Houses that could be okay at the moment could start crumbling.
I suspect that might be the case. Yeah. And everyone around this table seems to share your concerns and agree with you.
Well, yes, but whenever it actually comes back to it, the truth of the matter is that people at a local level have very little power, because the parties in power make the decisions. Now, when we talk about 100% redress, the question is, who is going to do the redressing? At the moment, it's going to be the taxpayer that's doing the redressing. The question then is, how do you make the insurance... I think the insurance companies at the moment have managed to get themselves exonerated completely. Now, this is no different from the churches during the sex abuse scandals. But I don't want to take it off on another tangent. Mica is all over Glenties. I mean, I had Mica in my commercial premises, and you're not even eligible to make a case about it, because commercial premises are not eligible at the moment. I know loads of houses in the Dunfanaghy area that's got it. It's not all from the Buncrana quarries that is the issue. But what the problem is that we've got very effective paid lobbyists who are influencing government policy. And as a result of that, everybody has to be taking advice from somebody. And there was just a report this morning about housing, but the Housing Committee couldn't agree on what the future of housing was to be.
Is it a bit curious that the Minister can call in the insurance companies to give out to them because they've changed the system of payment? So in other words, compensation or payments from the insurance companies have lowered to us, right? But premiums seem to be going up. Now, the Minister can call in the insurance companies on that issue. Why can't the Minister call in the insurance companies on the issues of defective concrete and say, hold on a second, you've got skin in this game, or to the banks, why should the taxpayer restore your assets to 100%? Do you have any insight or why do you think the government can't do that?
I think the government can absolutely do it at the stroke of a pen if they so choose. But because we have this traditional type of thinking that the civil service and the banks are actually advising the government as opposed to the other way around. So you have insurance companies like PwC who represent the government in terms of advising them. They're also representing BAM, who are building the Children's Hospital. And if that's not a conflict of interest, there's something seriously wrong.
Okay. Anyone want to add anything to that just before we take a break and we'll move on to our next topic? Micheál Cholm?
I just think that I agree with some of what Anne's saying there and certainly welcome that discussion around banks and insurance companies. And again, their objective there is clearly to make profit. The objective of government is to make sure that that profit is secure. And that's a conversation that has to be had. And Anne's 100% right when she says that they can. They choose not to. The government choose not to actually call them in and hold them to task.
Yes, of course, Jimmy Duffy.
Yeah, well, I represent a party who has in their manifesto to have end-to-end redress. It's the only party that has an end-to-end redress scheme in their manifesto, and that means to take the house, take the keys from the house and replace that house to the person.
Okay, well, we shall see. Right, we are going to take a break. We'll be back with more from our panel after these messages.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Choosing to have a chicken fillet roll is easy. The hard part is butter or mayo, plain or spicy, coleslaw or cheese, coleslaw and cheese. Shop smart, feel good with Centra's meal deal. Get a chicken fillet roll with 2 fillings, select soft drinks and a small pack of potato, all for just $7.50 plus DRS deposit. Centra. Live every day.
This Friday is Guide Dog Day. At Irish Guide Dogs for the Blind, we need your support to change the lives of those who are vision impaired and the families of children with autism. Donate at guidedogs.ie or call 0818 506 300. Support us and you will be changing lives.
If the medical experts get it wrong, everything changes. From misdiagnosis or delayed diagnosis to surgical injury or even poor treatment, all have physical, emotional and financial consequences. We're here to help. So if your treatment didn't go according to plan, speak to our experienced medical negligence team at McElhenney and Associates. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McElhenney and Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. In contentious business, a solicitor may not calculate fees or other charges as a percentage or proportion of any award or settlement.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €3 million. Play responsibly in store, in app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Letterkenny Medics is Ireland's first multi-purpose private medical urgent care and aesthetics centre. Dr. Mohammed El Preya and Dr. Ripu Singh are offering daily appointments from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days per week. Our walk-in clinics offer cardiac screening, weight management, male and female health screening, minor injury, minor surgery, aesthetics and travel vaccinations. To book your appointment, go to letterkennymedics.ie or call 07492 02955. Letterkenny Medics. We listen if you want to talk.
Around the Northwest is coming live this Thursday from iMotors as part of their Kia and Nissan 242 event in Drumkeen. Find out more about the incredible offers across the full range of Kia and Nissan, including 0% finance on the Kia Niro EV or the amazing 10,000 off the new Nissan Leaf. So join us at iMotors this Thursday from 12 p.m.
You're welcome back. Now, a number of people have referenced, that maybe Donegal is disadvantaged because of its distance from Dublin, i.e. the seat of decision-making. And there's many people I speak to in Glenties feel that they are disadvantaged because of their distance from Lifford. John Reilly, do you believe Glenties, the electoral area, doesn't get a fair crack of the whip from Lifford? And I suppose, what would you do to try and draw more attention, more money into issues such as roads, footpaths, housing, general infrastructure? I mean, do you believe there is an issue? I beg your pardon, sorry, John.
100% agree with you, Greg. I don't believe, and this is one of the main reasons that I'm running and I'm sitting here today, I don't believe that we're actually getting the money from Lifford, and I don't know why that is, because I'm actually a bit envious when I drive around the rest of the country, and I have to be quite honest. I go up to Kellybegs, Donegal, Bundoran, and I'm just naming the towns in the general script to see where we're going here. You go to Kellybegs, massive investment, and 4 or 5 million being spent. Donegal, Bundoran. I was on the Donegal road to Bundoran yesterday, stripping the whole road, retarring, resurfacing. Brilliant road. You come into Letterkenny. Some people think maybe Letterkenny's not up to speed, but it's a lot better than what we have more to the west, Buncrana and Inishowen. And I wonder why we're not getting the investment into there. Is it the problem that when our councillors are going to Lifford, that they're not pulling as a team to take the money in? Like, I understand that the way the Lifford probably works is like, if we're sitting here now and there's a pot of money in that table, you're going to have 30-odd councillors looking to take whatever they want back to their area.
See, we're now in the sort of bread and butter of what the electorate believe councillors should actually be doing for them,
Exactly,
and that's bringing money, investment and representation into an area.
It's like a business, Greg. Like, can you imagine if 30 councillors go to Lifford, and if I'm lucky enough to be elected, our sole aim is to go up there and compete with the other councillors to bring that money back for the good of our area. Now, if we're not pulling together as a team, if them 6 councillors coming out of this area are not pulling together as a team, then we're not going to bring the money back.
Yeah, massive investment going into Buncrana as well, and other parts of Inishowen. Are there any sort of like big projects for the Glenties area? What's your view, Joseph Molloy Fine Gael?
I believe that...
it's not a hard yes.
John's... No, it is a hard yes. John's hitting a lot of good points there. I do believe...
Parties putting together well here.
Well, that's fine too. I don't think the public care as long as the stuff is delivered.
The parties, we should all pull together.
It's like, as I said earlier, local politics, local issues. We should be pulling together for the benefit of the northwest of Donegal. And as John said, I see it in Gweedore, unload the Rosses, driving around the same as him, and you see the lack of funding that's coming in. And as he said, like, for run the businesses, I am a business myself, you wonder where are the budget, what are the budgets,
and also where is your commercial rates going, because I presume your euro of commercial rates is equal to that in Letterkenny.
Our commercial
but not
rates.
even that, Greg, it's the local development charges. Like, I'm after finishing a project, Neil knows about it, last year, and the council hit me with a slap bang big bill of local development charges. And there was another project done 500 metres and they got hit with a big bill. But that money's supposed to be spent in the locality, and I can tell you it's not at the moment.
All right, Joseph, did you feel you finished your point there?
Well, as I said there, when I'm looking at, say, you see funding coming from Dublin for certain projects, like there was one there, the historical monuments recently there, and there wasn't a penny for Donegal in it. And like, we need to be shouting and putting applications forward from Lifford to Dublin to get this funding, because we can't sit here and say that we're not looking for stuff or complaining. We have to go and get it. 400,000
to 1 point something or other million. But, we not a single application from Lifford went down.
And you'll see other things, like you'll see funding for greenways. Again, you might see certain areas of Donegal, but generally in our corner you see nothing. We have to go looking for this money, and you need to go fighting with central government for it.
Okay, and that fight you'd say starts in Lifford.
Sorry?
You believe that fight starts in Lifford?
And you have to have a bit of cooperation to it for the benefit of the area.
Kevin O'Donnell, you have obviously an insight into this as well.
Absolutely, and totally agree with what the two men have said here. Going to Lifford as a team and as local candidates, go and fight the roads idea with the whole team fighting together. We have a road between Glenties and Letterkenny. A lot of people travelling from Ardra, Glenties to Letterkenny every morning, going to their work, coming back in the evening. Now, on that road every day, round the work times, it's like a train. There's
but it
loads
seems to
of
be
cars.
a struggle even to get a dangerous bridge on that road fixed, let alone the rest of that stretch.
Greg, that is the next thing I was going to mention. We had a collision in Fintown at one of them bridges a lot of years ago, and there was numerous people killed. Terrible. And not one thing done at that bridge. And even coming over this morning, you have to slow down at that bridge. Now, for me or any of the locals travelling that road, we know the hazard is there. And that is a total red flag for that area. Now, a few weeks ago, we had our new road opened, the N56 connecting Glenties to Dunloe. Fantastic, a great road. But big issue with speeding on that road. And loads of the houses that I was in the area between Glenties and Dunloe spoke about the speeding on that road.
Yeah. And also there's an issue in terms of people using the walking, cycling path feel unsafe on that road because of the speed of the vehicles and the lack of protection there.
Yes, and the lack of protection, especially down below the filling station where I am in Glenties.
Yeah.
There's part of that road and the barrier is on the outside of the walking lane. Mm-hmm. If you understand what I'm saying, the barrier is close to the field where the walk.
That's a TIA issue, but you would hope that the council will have some role in it. Micheál Cholm is the only sitting councillor here. What are you doing? Why is there this sense that the electoral area is being left behind? Why are we getting a sense from other candidates here that maybe the councillors aren't pulling together to do enough for the area?
Yeah, look, there is obviously clearly an issue in terms of where central money is distributed up here to Donegal, and the way that works then that's divvied out, and probably on...
Is it still done per kilometre of road?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. So for the Glenties MD, we probably have the biggest road network than any of the other MDs have. So we do get a fair bit of money into the area, but it's nowhere near it. And we're talking, and we're genuinely talking, and John and Josie are right in terms of what we're saying here about pulling together, being able to work together. Like myself and Josie, if Josie's elected there, or John or whoever, like there's no doubt about that. There's a long enough relationship. Say, for example,
he's making enough noise on the core issues in Lifford, though. Just to that point.
So my point is this: that we will work together, work well together, and the problem is, and where the problem lies, is that we're not getting enough funding, and we're not. And yes, we can blame the parties for that there, and we can blame the government. But the reality is that's unfortunately how it is. And right now...
So why is there big investments going into Buncrana, into Letterkenny, massive money spent at Slieve League, Fort Dunree, big plans, can't get a toilet at the foot of Mount Errigal? Well, look, why is sort of from that area to the west so disadvantaged in terms of, key infrastructural developments?
Well, there are key infrastructure development, even at John's doorstep there in Alchachara, massive. If you look at Aaronmore, which I'd be very centrally involved in both as well, in Alchachara and Aaronmore, we've massive big infrastructure there. The Foreshore project, the core coming there, led very much by Noreen in terms of the new garden being built there. So there are quite a lot of money being spent, even in Aaron itself, on the road infrastructure and the smaller islands. And going up Errigal, like the committee in Dunluche, Upper Vilchina, Genta, and the Blianti, fantastic work. And we've seen, unfortunately, this last, I think Josie was saying to me, or Kevin or somebody was saying to me about the water damage that's been done over the last couple of days. There are, but is it anywhere near enough? No, it's not. Even again in Alchacharan, if you look at the railway walk that was started way back many, many, many years ago, but yet we're seeing other projects getting...
Well, how many greenways have been gone through planning and finished and are being used since people started talking about Burton Port to Letterkenny?
Absolutely.
But that's what yous are sent there to sort.
Yes, and to answer that question is myself and Councillor Michael McBride had been both working together to try, because it's connected to the Glanty MD, agus T. Cantor... Milford, Ball and the Gallaglass, agus there's Cannon, so it's all connected, and we have been working on that there, and there are staff now working on it. And I suppose for myself, as somebody who was on one of them committees, not in the council but locally, it's very frustrating when you see good, hard working people promoting their own areas, but the greenways, they are fantastic.
I've never seen it before. There was a discussion about that greenway that was held at the Glenties meeting, and it was done closed doors. Media asked to leave to discuss that. So whatever reason that was, I don't know. But we were asked to leave. I just went home at that point.
Well, I suppose you know where I stand in workshops, and I'm not sure if that's going to be discussed today or not. But what I'm saying is we're not getting
Kevin's
going to
focus. I get you. Kevin's going to come back in on this, but I want to give Anne a word on this. Anne, do you recognise the investment and the developments and the picture that Micheál Cholm is painting?
I do recognise the picture that Micheál is painting, but the dilemma is, in order for projects to be driven, they have to be driven by local community committees that are then working hand in glove with the council. Therefore, the responsibility for actually making sure a project starts and is actually driven by volunteers. And it's very hard to get volunteers to continuously try and move a project forward. They get fed up, or they move out, or they do whatever. But basically the whole issue comes down to how local government is funded. And ever since Fianna Fáil did away with rates many years ago, local government and councils have been starved of funding to do essential work that has to be done in every other country. So we just have commercial rates, which is far too high. And it's not anywhere near enough to cover the services that we want or require, or the roads we want, or the footpaths we want. So we keep on harping about money, and everybody's struggling after a small pot of money when a proper plan is not put in place as to how local government is funded. And so
you're saying the plan can't be made work. The plan is what needs to change.
Yes, the plan needs to change about how things are funded, because the cost, we are actually paying for all the services much more than we should if the local government was providing them.
Okay.
It's the same as the housing.
Sorry, if you're finished your point, I beg your pardon. Before I bring Kevin O'Donnell back in, he wants to come back in. Jimmy Duffy from Labour.
Yeah, I think that there weren't enough cooperation in the previous councils. I can't blame one or the other, but they obviously are not working, and I will be standing my own corner in the council, but I'll also be number one, be cooperating with everybody else for the betterment of the people of this constituency.
Kevin, you wanted to come back in there, I think.
Yeah, just one other point, Greg. I did want to speak on the greenways. They are fantastic, but like that, they need to be kept and looked after. Now, a fantastic thing to have between Glenties and Dunlow, but if you walk, say you walk around the Gibara and it's beautiful, like, just to watch and see the neglect. And our greenway from Glenties to Dunlow was only opened about a year, and the grass and the roots and, trees growing around it. It's like buying a new car and not looking after it. These greenways need to be serviced and looked after. That's just the point I wanted to make.
Can I come on
Jimmy, yeah.
Because I have trouble. I'm trying to get a CE scheme, just maybe a floating worker to come and look after the footpaths, and that was done over the last maybe 30 years. But with the lack of, say now if there were a community who got them footpaths 30 years ago, and now they're that committee is non-existent, then they're just left out on a limb while the taxpayers' money was just thrown into a hole and not looked after.
Joseph, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, just when we are talking about trying to get funding down here, like, there are possibilities there. Like, there's the Department of Rural and Cultural Development there, and there are 9 different schemes there where you can actually go looking for funding for different projects, whether it be for rural tourism, enterprise development. Like, there's a whole load of things.
I think Joseph's on that point. The electorate maybe can live with a funding application being rejected. Mm-hmm. I don't think they can really live with funding applications not being put in. So if there's a pot of money and we don't have a team seeking that money for an area,
we should be shouting
more active in
the applications in. Like, if you're not sending the applications for these
and would you see the role of the council to be on top of that at every meeting? What are we doing? Where are we applying? What fund streams can we bring to the Glenties electorate area? Do you see that as the role of the elected reps?
Of course, yeah, I do see that, and that's what frustrates me when I see the list of funding and these different schemes, when you see how little is trickling down to Donegal. But like, we can't complain if we're not actually going looking for it.
I hear you. Michael Cholm, you wanted to come back in there.
I think it's important to come on here, and it would be disingenuous of me not to say that our staff within council do apply. The difficulty is...
Well, hold on a second. It would be disingenuous for me to not point out that the fund that Joseph talked about, we didn't apply for.
Yes, and there are been funds, and I think Jimmy Duffy, I think you raised the point, I think, at one stage for the...
an
Airat agus there to Shin. But what I'm saying is, because I unless I misunderstood, we were talking about footpaths there. What I'm saying is...
It's about everything. Right, it's about investment in... And we're going to get on to other areas. It's about footpaths. It's about lights. It's about roads. It's about development of social housing. It's about actually people in Glenties feeling that they're as important to Lifford as Letterkenny, as Buncrana, as the Finn Valley is.
Absolutely, Greg. And as you well know, because I've been in these rooms for long enough, raising these points and challenging the neglect that I see within my own community, and we'll continue that and hopefully re-elected to do that. But what I'm saying is that the difficulty, it'd be disingenuous to think that we don't apply for any of this, right? So if we're talking about road infrastructure and footpaths, one of the projects that we're working with at the moment is around, and this is only just an example, and John will know himself even from Acres School.
Really briefly, because we have to take a break.
Yeah, so
please.
Point is that our staff who are very good and very committed and do apply for that, but the problem lies is that the government is not opening up funding streams for rural areas. They will work within 30-minute mile zones, so from one edge of the village to the other, and not allowing us in rural area, which does not allow us to apply.
I think the councillors are not they're not up to speed, because the funding is not going to come anymore for footpaths. The funding is going to come for cycle lanes and green.
And just in relation to we do have to take a break, and if anyone wants to come back after the news at 11, we can do that, right? But there's other issues to talk about. And also, just in case it's coming across as something different, by highlighting deficits and calling for better investment and more broader approach for funding, it's not a criticism of council staff.
Not at all.
But you've said that a couple of times, and it could sound like Joseph's criticising staff. Or Jimmy is.
Yes, it's not a criticism.
I just want to be clear on that, because it could end up...
have a job to do.
Yeah.
Like any business, the council's like a business and they have money. It's up to us as councillors, if we're elected, to go and get that money for our area.
Yeah, and support the staff in the work that they're doing. OK, that's just to be clear. Right, we're going to take a break. Then we've got the news, and we're going to come back then. We have a full hour, lots to get through, lots of you raising issues about really just being able to live and work in the Glenties electorate area. We're going to be getting to that and so much more after these.
Join us this Friday, May 24th from 12 noon for the grand opening of the newly revamped Moores XL shop in Dunfanaghy. You're invited to come along and explore the new store and enjoy tasty treats from the new deli. There's also spot prizes and live music from Chelsea Evans. That's this Friday, John Breslin and around the Northwest, live from the all-new Moores XL shop in Dunfanaghy. See you there.
Is here, and so is the hottest sale of the year at Easy Living Furniture. Absolutely everything reduced across sofa, dining, bedroom, mattress and accessories. The spectacular summer sale is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, Easy Living has it all. Easy Living Furniture, luxury furnishings, affordable luxury.
The Mother and Baby Institution's payment scheme is now open for applications. This scheme provides financial payments and health supports to eligible people who spend time in mother and baby and county home institutions in Ireland. There's a straightforward application process in place to help everyone access the benefits that they're entitled to. To find out more, visit gov.ie/payment scheme or call the helpline at 01 522 9992, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
In 30 seconds, we want to let you know that the 242 Opel Open Road event is now on. We're going to use half of the time to suggest you explore Opel's extensive award-winning range. Half of the time to tell you you'll get 3 years free servicing. Then, we've nothing else to talk about. In fact, the percentage of our time we're going to talk about finance offers, that would be 0%. Find out more about our 242 offers at Manor Motors Opel. See manormotors.ie for details.
Highland
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhinney's. With over 50 years of serving the community in Donegal, McElhinney's is proud to be part of every moment, big and small. Support local, shop McElhinney's Ballybuffet.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
June 7th is polling day. On that day, you'll be asked to vote in the European elections, the local elections, and, if you're registered in Limerick, in the election of Limerick's new mayor. You'll find the information you need on all the votes taking place at electoralcommission.ie. Your vote is your voice, so don't let others speak for you. Be a voter on June 7th. From An Comisiún Tábhácáin, Ireland's independent electoral commission.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark-approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
Check out the new summer ranges now in stock at Watson Menswear, Letterkenny. Top casual brands include Mishmash, French Connection, Tommy Bow and Penguin. If you're going to a big event, great formal wear names include Rimazumo, Sixth Sense and White Label, with special packages available for wedding parties. Watson Menswear open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny and at watsonmenswear.com.
Get ready for the event of the year. It's the brand new 242 event at iMotors Drumkeen. Join us until May 26th as we showcase the latest models from Kia and Nissan. We're serving up treats, gourmet burgers and lots more to make your visit extra special. Now is your chance to explore our new range at iMotors Drumkeen, your trusted Kia and Nissan dealership in the Northwest.
iMotors, fearless generation.
Experience.
And it's over the bar! Experience Donegal v Tyrone this Saturday in Ballybuffet in round 1 of the football championship at 7:15 p.m.
The GAA Football All-Ireland Senior Championship. Experience the unforgettable. Sponsored by Allianz, AIB and SuperValu. Advance ticket sales only at GAA.ie or selected centre and SuperValu stores. GAA, where we all belong.
Good morning, it's 11 o'clock. The headlines on Highland with Donal Kavanagh. The case of the former DUP leader Jeffrey Donaldson is back in court today. He's been charged with historical sex offences. His wife Eleanor Donaldson also faces charges including aiding and abetting. Their case is up for mention today, so the next steps can be decided on how they'll proceed and if the case is to be moved to a higher court. The offences are alleged to have occurred between 1985 and 2006 and involve 2 alleged victims. Ireland will formally recognise Palestine as an independent state. Taoiseach Simon Harris made the announcement this morning, with the recognition formally taking effect on the 28th of this month. Norway and Spain are also recognising Palestine. Israel has recalled its ambassadors from Dublin and Oslo in protest. Detectives from the PSNI's Terrorism Investigation Unit last night recovered a suspected firearm on Derry's Letterkenny Road. As part of an ongoing operation, officers stopped and searched a vehicle in which the suspected gun and ammunition were found. One man has been arrested. He's being questioned at the Serious Crime Suite at Musgrave Station in Belfast. A Letterkenny councillor is calling on Donegal County Council and the HSC to take action to speed up the process of granting housing adaptation applications. Councillor Jerry McMonigal says those who apply for such grants do so because there is an immediate need to have their home renovated, and the response must reflect that urgency. He says a shortage of occupational therapists is one of the main reasons for delays. He says OTs should be hired on a private basis to address the backlog, a call that's also been made by a number of other councillors. And social media is playing an influential role in the upcoming European and local elections. 1 in 5 voters has changed their voting choice based on what they've seen online. However, research from Pure Telecom say less than half say they fact check what they see when they're scrolling, and a spokesperson says that is affecting younger people in particular. They're the headlines. Back with headlines again at 12 noon, but for now from the news team, good morning.
Disney Plus, what's your emergency?
I need to know when Grace is coming back. Please help!
No need to panic. A new season of Grey's Anatomy is now streaming on Disney+.
Wait, it's already back?
Correct. But side effects may include elevated heart rate, excessive crying, and please be aware that Meredith Grey will be returning.
Wait, what?
Hello? Are you there?
New episodes of Grey's Anatomy, now streaming on Disney+. 18 plus subscription required. T's and C's apply.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. We're heading into the last hour and we're continuing our debate relating to the Glenties electoral area. There are 16 candidates, 6 seats. We have 6 in with us today. Michael McClafferty, Independent, declined our invitation. And also Kellie Rodgers of Sinn Féin was invited and also declined. Okay, I can start with you if that's all right, Anne Sweeney. I'll just read this message, and it's for a particular area, but I think it talks of a wider problem. It's about living and working in the Glenties electoral area. Morning, Greg. What are the candidates planning on doing about childcare? Total lack of full-day childcare, particularly in the Dunfanaghy area. No creche at all, no breakfast clubs, no services during school holidays, waiting lists for years for childcare places, people having to travel to Letterkenny for childcare because there are no other closer options. Just shows a lack of facilities. I mean, this is the bread and butter of life and getting out to work and covering your bills.
The childcare issue, in my opinion, should be provided by the local education authority, and schools should be used for early childhood learning, because most of them have lots of space that isn't being used. And that's what I think should happen, as opposed to us having to try and create voluntary childcare facilities that are not funded, where parents who are already very seriously stretched are trying to run a commercial business. They're trying to meet all the regulations and then provide the childcare. I actually don't think it's possible. And for that point of view, I think what we should be lobbying for is for the state to be providing the childcare within the existing education system.
Neil Cholm, you wanted to come in there?
Yeah, I agree. Myself and Anne finding ourselves agreeing on a lot of stuff here. I thought me and Anne would be battling it out. But no, I think it's right. There's a huge issue there. When you look at the cost of living and the families that I deal with on a regular basis, and especially now we're all getting it at the Nadarsa, we're all hearing all these issues. And when you take in the cost of childcare, if you're lucky enough to get childcare places, when you look at rent on affordable, the mortgage, it's nearly impossible to live. I spoke to an oldish woman the other day, and she was saying, I'm in my 80s, it's nearly impossible for me to live. And for families then who are trying to work, they've been through college or they're in employment anywhere, need that be Dunfanaghy or Giolla or Narassa, they're really struggling. No childcare facilities.
Can you remember off the top of your head the last time that issue was raised in the council by someone in the Glenties Municipal District area?
I can't think of childcare being raised as a issue because it doesn't come under us as a council.
There's
in
a
terms
lot
of our
discussed,
remit,
including
in terms of
other countries that don't fall under the remit of the council.
If I can finish this.
Well,
point.
if I can ask a question.
Oh, no, you can ask
please,
away,
yeah,
and let me finish that too. So, it has been, of course it has been, because we're talking, look, at the end of the day, we all might have differences politically or ideological positions, but we all live in the community. We all see our neighbours and our families, and some of us struggle. So it is difficult, and we know the issues that are out there. And Anne's right there when she says that it should be state-run. I think it should be state-run, or childcare should be state-run, and it should be available. And if you look at Giolla, because I would have been heavily involved, as you know, Greg, in trying to save the Giolla crash there. And now the waiting list is massive, right in the heart of an industrial estate. And for people then to find employment, people who were trying to coax to come back home, and they're saying, no, hold on a minute, I have 2 or 3 children. Where would they go? Where I would spend my life, if you were lucky enough to get a place, paying the mortgage, paying the childcare, and it's just not living. It's nowhere near living, and the cost. And the lads here were and Anne and that there were talking there about supermarkets and running supermarkets now, and the difficulties that there is there, and I don't believe for 1 minute that Josie wants to be passing on them prices on to the customers. It just becomes so expensive.
But Joseph,
living now.
I'll go to Joseph from Molloy FG. I mean, you know, we don't want to sit around the table and sort of identify the problems because we're living them. You know, and particularly in certain areas of Donegal, low wages, high rents, unavailability of childcare or expensive childcare, lack of housing. You know, I mean, surely a council has to have a role in either addressing these issues or lobbying on behalf of the people that send them to Lifford. Do you know, sometimes you wonder, I would say a lot of motions that come before the council are not necessarily under the remit of the council. So, you know, at least people would feel that their feelings and their lives are being represented in Lifford. Would you do that for them?
Yeah, of course. But not only at council level then, because like if you are a member of a party, you can be badgering ministers and TDs in Leinster House about these issues too also, you know, and so a lot of this, some of it doesn't just necessarily fall under Lifford and Donegal County Council. And like I have to say, I've got that on the doorstep about the lack of childcare facilities.
But just listen, pardon my ignorance, right? Yeah. So say you bring a motion before the council, right, and it's on some of these issues. The council unanimously agree. Now, the executive have no function in that whatsoever. But if that motion is then sent to a local TD and then local councillors use the media to say, we've raised this issue, this local TD, this local minister is not doing nothing, that puts the heat onto that minister. That minister sits around the cabinet table and says, look, I'm going to have to do something about Donegal here because my life is being made a misery. Surely that's the role of a council. Why is that not the role of the council?
No, I believe that.
Yeah. So it is worth raising these issues outside of the...
seen certain things, and I'm not even a councillor, on the doorsteps, like early in the second week, and it was to do with a little girl, and I'm not going to name names, but it was a bit of childcare, and as an autistic girl. And I badgered a couple of TDs, and that went on for a week or whatever. And that girl was waiting 10 months for an appointment for a certain thing, and she got an appointment then within 2 weeks. Yeah. But you have to follow through, and you have to keep following up.
Yep, I know a lot of the work of councillors is done. Yeah. Outside of Lifford and off the airwaves, I get that, but still, we're talking about what people are feeling. John Reilly of Fianna Fáil.
Well, Greg, you know, we're talking about the childcare and everything, and you're hitting a good point there about the TDs. We've TDs in this county, and they seem to get away with it. All the blame always comes back on the councillor. You know, at local level, the councillor's role is to listen to what the people want. The go-to person, I get a lot of that on the doorstep. People are pulling me aside. Even when I said I was going to run, I'd actually people coming to me with issues that want to be addressed. Now, I'm not a councillor, but certain issues like with council estates and the houses weren't being painted, etc., etc. It took me 10 or 15 minutes to go and do my homework to find a solution to that problem, and I'm not a councillor. So if we have a problem like your childcare and stuff, where are our TDs in this area? I haven't seen them this last 5 years. I would hardly remember their name. So I think what we do at council level is bring the motion to the table.
Can I just say, though, a TD represents the entire county. So in fairness, when you lay that claim, it's not against, you know, necessarily just the TDs in your own area. It is actually the TDs for the county. They are representing the county, which includes
but in our area,
which includes
TDs,
a minister.
In our area, we have TDs, and as councillors, I think we should work together, get together, and go to the TD and bring it to Dublin on the table of the issues that we need, because we have serious issues that need to be addressed.
Kevin O'Donnell, come in there, please.
I'm very glad the childcare issue has come up, because I was actually at a house last night in the Glenties area and met a man and woman, both working people, and unfortunately, because of the childcare crisis, the man stays at home, looks after. They've 3 children. Now there's one child very young and the other 2 at school. So the big problem, and possibly for them, like, you know, we need to the government need to put more money into childcare services, you know, to secure places for creches and all. Places aren't available, and as well, a lot of staff aren't willing to work in childcare services because of the wage factor. So that is a big issue with it as well. And I know for a fact that managers working in childcare services, they're burnt out because they're trying to keep the places opened, and it's very tough.
Carol works in childcare and says, I've continuously asked locally for premises, but with the red-taped open facility, it's impossible to find a premises to suit and then to have the funds to get the premises, that premises to that standard required by the inspecting authorities. I contacted Uders for help to source premises, but to be told that it's not their remit, there's no support. We are also a family with crumbling blocks in Gwyddor, and not one councillor has supported us over the last few years as we watch our homes deteriorate. Too late to land at my door now when they are just looking for votes. It seems there is a sense that, and I'll put this to you, Anne, and anyone can correct me where I'm wrong, is that maybe some people around this table think that it's not a Glenties problem, and then there are those that are affected by the issue, and maybe they want people to be better briefed, or maybe to be coming up with better solutions for people affected by defective concrete in Glenties, the Glenties electoral area.
Well, I'm going to go back to childcare and take it from that perspective.
Okay, yeah, sure, go ahead.
The situation that we have in Ireland at the moment is that, apart from declining birth rates, because people can't afford to have children because they can't afford houses, they can't afford for one parent to stay home and mind the children because of the high cost of mortgages, and again back to the high cost of housing. So the whole standard of living and everything is predicated by affordable affordable housing. And the council is, in theory, not responsible for housing because that decision has been taken in Dublin on housing policy. In Dunfanaghy, we had 10 houses that came up for sale for 30,000 each because the builder went bankrupt. The logical thing would have been for the council to buy those 10 houses and add to the council stock, which would have been an asset that would have been bringing in money continuously. Instead of that, the council got a private developer to take them over, and they've leased them for 20 years. Now, there's no logic whatsoever from a commercial point of view for the council to be doing that, but obviously that's the policy, that Dublin wouldn't give them the money to buy the houses. So I'm saying that at a stroke of a pen, the housing issue can be fixed. And I don't think that is we don't have enough houses, it's we don't have enough houses that are affordable. And if we have a situation where we're allowing vulture funds to come into the country and buy up streams of houses and then rent them back to the government, we have a situation then where the taxpayer is actually paying the housing supplement. So we, the taxpayer, are supplementing the incomes for investment funds from America and Canada particularly. Now, the Fianna Fáil Minister for Housing, Darragh O'Brien, has said he's going to stop that, but not yet. It's only for new planning permissions going forward. And it's absolutely scandalous.
All right. Jimmy Duffy, your view on that, please.
In relation to childcare?
Just in relation to childcare, and I suppose the a caller says, you can address this, Jimmy, or anyone can come in. The reason they believe childcare is not raised regularly in the council to, I suppose, let people feel that their issues are being talked about is because there's not enough women in the council. But anyway, more generally speaking,
that could be in it too. I think it's the council, second councillors can't just walk away from that, because some of them have raised the issue of health centres, no dispensaries and open and all sorts of that. So that is the remit of the HSE. So if they're just saying that we can't raise this issue of childcare because it's nothing to do with the council, but they're actually raising the issue of no other services, which has nothing to do with the council either.
The council's frontline democracy, though, is it not? I mean, that's where people want to be heard.
The councillor has a duty to raise all the issues, and if they're affiliated to a political party, then they have the avenue to go and raise that up through the ranks of their party, right up to
in relation to that, Parliament. Say for instance, if you live in Letterkenny, you would know that Letterkenny University Hospital, it's tight in terms of the conditions and what have you. Fancy living in Burton, Porter, Ironmore, and then it's magnified. I mean, I don't want you to be a lightning rod, Councillor Magdalene Esbuig, on council issues, but how regularly, can you give us a sense of how regularly issues are raised where councillors as a unit agree that they need to make representations to the HSE or central government to say, hold on a second, what's going on in the hospitals is an absolute disgrace. Should councillors, 37 of them, not be standing outside that hospital with placards saying enough is enough? Invite RTE up to film it.
Yeah,
why don't you do that? What is the...
That's a very fair point, to be honest with you. I've been spending quite a lot of time down at the hospital at the moment, this last 2 weeks, nearly most days, and just used the opportunity to thank the staff down there. And there is an issue in terms of our healthcare. There is an issue that is all interconnected in terms of our housing, our healthcare and other services, because there is a move by government around the privatisation and that agenda, which is very much about profit for others. And it's a bit like, I think we spoke earlier about the ESB, maybe on or off air, I'm not sure, off air. We were talking about the ESB and how that was all privatised, and how we're looking at the model similar to the HSE in England. And it's where you deteriorate a service so much so that it then becomes acceptable for the people to accept the privatisation, and the idea of making profit out of somebody's misery or ill health has now become to a point where you do talk at the doorsteps with people about it, but sure, isn't it better than what we have at the moment? And that's a very, very deliberate approach, because it's a very Thatcherist policy that we've seen being implemented in the 80s, kind of late 80s, and moving towards where we are today in the 24, whatever year we're at, around the deterioration. And that is the ideology of both Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, and shared by Labour when they were in government as well. And it's really unfortunate that this is where we're at, because John, we're talking about
John
people...
Reilly, you're shaking your head.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. John, you're shaking your head.
I'm shaking my head, Greg, because we come in here to speak about local issues. You started on childcare, we were going to housing, and then it always goes in to attack the government. We're talking about local issues here. I'm bringing it back about round the table in Lifford to get the money in. Like we're talking about housing. When I was canvassing in my area, and this is a good fact, in the housing estates in my area, there was 15 empty council houses, lying empty for more than 6 months or more. Now, I do know 20 metres away from where my business is, a man passed away, okay? In May last year, the keys were handed back. It took 8 months to turn the house around. And the need we have for housing, we're saying we're building new houses in Dunlow, Annaghra, etc. We should concentrate and get the councillors to work with the council. Now, the council have a tough job. I understand that. And the people who work for the council have a job to do. But it's up to the job of a councillor to go and ask the question, why is it taking 8 months to turn a house around? Now, people only want a roof over their head, heat at night, and somewhere to sleep and somewhere to call home. That's all they want. They don't want a palace, so why is it taking 8 months to turn these houses around? Now, I'm only talking in the small area that I'm in. I haven't got in the broader area, the likes of Glenties and Ardra and places like that. But this needs to be addressed. This has to be addressed right away and get the turnaround done.
Jimmy Duffy of the Labour Party.
Well, there's one example that could have been rectified by the council, by the councillors, is the motor tax office in Dunlow and maybe other places in their constituency, where people only can go in and get their tax on their car 2 days a week within certain times, while that office is opened, that office is staffed, and that motor tax office should be open to the public all the time. We can't think that people have the facility or they know how to go online. So that's only one thing. If you can't get simple things like that right, we're going nowhere. We have to cooperate within the council and push these issues.
You'd wanted to come back in there, Michael Cholm, Michael Esbuig before.
Yeah. Just in relation to the housing, and John's right that the time scale that it takes to turn around housing, and that's, I'm hoping that the housing issue is going to be an issue that we discuss, because I think it's really, really important. But if I was to be honest, John, just in relation to that, there's a number of factors there. The number of factor is the lack of staff within the council. The lack of funding, and that funding, so how it works is, very briefly, is that when somebody vacates for whatever reason, we then need to apply then to the government in Dublin for that funding. So it's not that there's a pot there that we're waiting on, right? By the time then maybe that the family takes to maybe hand over a house, it could take a period of time, even though they've already left. And then the biggest problem is that we have is, and again, I disagree with it because I believe that we should have the in-house staff, and it's something that I've been challenging since I've been elected, is that we're then dependent on the private market yet again. So when you have a situation where the government, the parties, decide that they control the funding until we need it, and then the whole process then of applying for that there, which is more red tape and ministerial, I'm stuck with that word. Applications, and then, no, there's part blame, and then, when you have a situation where we have huge immigration within the area, and a lot of the workers are away in other countries working, we're left with the private market then waiting for them when they have spare time to come to do up the houses. And John, unfortunately, that is the reality of it.
No, I don't know.
No, that's a fact. That is a fact, John.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Well, hold on.
I'll bring everybody on this.
If you don't agree, tell me where I'm.
Well, excuse. I'll look after that if that's all right. Everyone can come in, but that's Joseph. No, it's not. It's just to keep things. So, Joseph Molloy, you wanted to come in. You indicated first.
When you're on about council houses there and that, I see it now when we're out canvassing too in all areas this last 5 or 6 weeks. The amount of vacant houses that are in the area, and even houses that are partly built or finished, I think it should be easier for people to rent these houses out and stuff. And of course, that's not necessarily a council issue. That would be more possibly a government issue. That people they need to lessen, as Michael was saying, red tape about renting private houses.
I know you say it's a Dublin issue, and
we have 9,500 vacant houses in Donegal. I've seen that figure in one certain instance, and I've seen a statistic somewhere else where there's, say, 10,000. And these houses are sitting unoccupied.
I think it's the difference between houses that are vacant, houses that are livable, and houses that are holiday homes.
A lot of these houses are livable.
6 in Annagry, apparently, in the Glen Road. They've been built. 7 have been built on for a few years. No one is letting or buying them. Why? What is the panel going to do to address that?
Well, hold on. I'll answer that if that's okay. They belong to a private developer. Okay. So they do. They're not council houses, and I think it was misled that it was believed that they were belonging to the council. If them houses were,
I wonder if the developer been approached to buy them houses off them.
No, the developer had been in talks, because I've been and clearly stating here, developer's profit is not my interest, but I've been engaging certainly with both, and it is the decision of the developer to do as he wishes.
Is this another issue whereby issue whereby a developer wants an uplift to get the value of the houses now rather than when the houses were built?
Well,
because this seems to be a common problem around this county.
Again, going back to
is that been raised as an issue? You were at the meeting.
Say that again. Sorry.
That the developer wants the market value of the houses now and not the value of the houses when they were built.
Well, I think what's happening is that overall, and I'm not specifically zooming in on one person, is that there's a view there among some of the developers that if we hold on, there'll be more profit to be made. The government will buckle because we're in a housing crisis, obviously created by the government, and that they want to hold on as long as they can to make more profit.
Sorry, Anne, did you want to come back in there? I hope you haven't lost your point. Sorry for taking so long to get to you.
But the point that Michael has made about, and you have made about the developers and wanting a different price for the house, if a developer is building a house and he's got funding from the banks or whatever on the basis that the council is buying them off him, then I think that the council needs to tie that down in a contract so that whatever price they agreed to purchase.
I think contracting has actually, it wasn't up until now, but I think there is a provision for that now whereby it's not just a memorandum of understanding, that there is actually a formal agreement there.
So if there isn't, then there's no point in talking about it. But I want to go back to the hospital, because the services that we all have to put up with within the county affects all of us, and on the front line of democracy that a councillor will have, then we must address it in some way. Letterkenny Hospital got an increase in funding last year of 75%. And the Sunday Business posted an article about 4 weeks ago how they had measured the increase in improvement or services as a result of it. And there was no sign of a 75% improvement in services or treatments.
I mean, I presume the paper knew that. It's not. I don't think it's 75%. Most of that money was actually taken up covering wages and things, wages increases as part of agreements, and not actually towards the provision of services.
Right, but what I would like to see is that in order, rather than the whole service being destroyed and ended up being privatised, that we actually have a full in-depth exposure about how the money is spent and how much of it has been spent on bringing in private contractors. Now, the motor tax issue and people going online, that just leads me on to the whole issue of people paying for stuff online. Like if you get a bus, some of the bus companies now, you have to pay online. You might have free transport, but you have to pay a fee for using the platform.
Booking fee to book your free ticket. It's a booking fee.
Yes. So I think it shouldn't be allowed, but it'll have to be covered somehow. But if we actually take that idea onto another level and look at the amount of money that's coming in, stuff that's coming into the county, or money that's going out of the county to buy stuff on platforms like eBay and Amazon and things like this. These are putting billions of pounds worth of stuff into the country, into the county every month. And I think that we need to come up with a mechanism where that can be taxed and that this money can be used for the fact that we have all these local businesses closed down, they can't compete with the prices, and that we create a whole indigenous industry out of the money that's been spent on these massive platforms.
Okay.
So
you could make the argument that we have €8 billion of corporation tax off the companies that you mentioned. Use some of that. That is, it's in the general taxation pot. Well, why another level of tax when we've an $8 billion surplus from the tax off them already?
Well, I would. We have that tax off them, but I mean, I would be taxing all the stuff that's coming in because they actually take 40% for hosting the platforms alone.
Or increase our tax rate in terms of taxing these big multinational companies more. That benefits us, so we could actually start.
Kevin, sorry for taking Colin. Kevin, sorry for so long coming back to you. I do understand there's multiple issues, and then people want to sort of get in on what's passionate to them. The listener will understand. Go ahead.
Yes,
Kevin.
okay. No, actually, Joseph pointed out on part of what I was going to say on the canvas. Like for the last few weeks as well, all the empty houses that are in the area.
Are these holiday homes, or are these...
A lot of them are, some of them are holiday homes, Greg, but there's a lot of derelict houses. There's a lot of derelict houses lying in Donegal, and houses that are not in bad condition. Why are there not money spent on them?
But we have the derelict properties grant now, with the biggest uptake in this county of any county.
Yeah, which is very welcome.
Sorry, go ahead, Joseph.
These aren't derelict houses, and the majority.
But if they haven't been lived in for 2 years, you can still get the grant.
Well, I would class derelict as a ruin as such.
Well, you get an extra 20 for that.
I'm talking about here is houses that...
If these houses haven't been lived in for 2 years, there's 50 grand. I just want, with respect, James, I just want Kevin to finish his point. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, as well as that, like, you know, the houses are there. There's not a lot of money to be spent on them. And like, what about maybe houses that are left and there's no walls? Maybe some of these houses will never be reopened again. You know, maybe it's something that council should look into.
Do you think people, though, when you start talking about interfering with private property, in other words, if I buy a house and I want it to sit there empty for 10 years, do we really want to go down a road whereby there's an overreach from the government to sort of tell me what I can do with that?
Yeah, but maybe
I don't have a second house.
Maybe we should inquire to see what's the situation on these houses.
I've heard so many of those schemes.
Kevin, you were becoming a communist there.
No, at the end of the day, the government even had a scheme whereby you could take pictures of a derelict house, send it down to Mayo. Yeah. Nothing ever comes of those things. James, you wanted to come in there now?
On that vacant house scheme or derelict house scheme. To avail of the grant and to do the work, we're getting 13 months, and you also have to secure your money to do that. Most people that would be availing of that mightn't have the capital to do it, and also the time frame to complete it, because we don't have the tradespeople. A local contractor who had to get plasterers up from Monaghan for a week to plaster a local house. So where are we going to get
the one thing I would actually say is, for anyone interested in that, because I think it's a brilliant scheme, is there's a brilliant actual team working with that, and you can work with them a little bit. In other words, you only need a kitchen, a front room, and one bedroom you can sleep in. So there are.
We have only a one problem.
You can get extended.
You can get extension.
We can, but the government parties that's here at the moment should be looking forward to what's going to happen next, because that scheme is going to finish in 2025.
And just to clarify, there's a review on it at the moment, which is happening through the month of May. At the moment, because every scheme has a time frame, it's to the end of 2025, but that doesn't mean it's not continuing. It may well be enhanced and extended.
That it will be
continuing.
And also there are, and James, I hope you don't think I'm contradicting you there. It's just that I actually think there's good money there and a brilliant team that addition it out, and it would bring us our houses back. Sorry, I'll come back to you, Kevin, and whoever wants to come in. But John, I think you were. I don't know if you just exacerbated at everything, or you're shaking your head because you want to come in. I don't know which one it is. I want to give you a fair crack at the whip too.
I do agree about the vacant homes that I've seen myself on the cameras, and the great thing about canvassing is that you travel parts of the corners you find that you never knew existed, even though we live here. But one of the problems we have too is probably that we live in a beautiful part out in the west of Donegal, and the holiday homes is the issue, that people come and stay for their 3 or 4 weeks. Now, you had in it there, Greg, that how can you go and police somebody that has their own home? You know, if I have a second home, maybe somebody died in the family and the house is there, maybe I don't have the money to do it up. Even with the 70,000 grand that's going now, maybe I haven't got the extra money to do it. Then you need the 3 quotations, etc., etc., etc. So maybe people just have it sitting there and they don't have the time or the money to bring it. I don't think you need 3
quotations either, by the way. This is not a hobby horse, but you don't need 3 quotations. But your wider point is, but surely then can we not get inventive and say, let someone rent out a holiday home for 10 months of the year tax-free? No? Or is there anything we could do to try and bring that stock into use?
Reduce the taxation, reduce the red tape, make it more advantageous to rent the house out. Like, as in a business sense, make it easier, make it more appealing to people. That's what necessarily needed.
With respect to Ollius and that, how could you rent a house out for 10 months? If, and I'm not being, I know you're just playing with ideas here, but we have enough difficulties with landlords.
Can I give an example? Can I give an example? So say, for instance, I got a job offer at a company in the West Donegal. I want to take that job, but I can't secure housing. So there's a 6-month lease. There's a 6-month lease. I can go in there for 6 months. Teachers, I can go in for there 6 months, try and source something else locally. That's how I would say you could rent a house for 8 months. Now, it's not going to affect the long-term housing issue.
No, and where there's difficulty, there's massive difficulties in housing. And housing, for me anyway, it's one of the biggest issues that I deal with, and it's housing.
Right, so shall we? I have to break to get out of the way.
Okay.
Do you want to come back to housing after that?
What is the sandwiches and tea?
No, there's none of that crack.
None?
Maybe for the Letterkenny debates.
It's a big issue.
All right, no, it is for sure. But I'll tell you, we'll take these breaks. I'll take the 2 breaks, and then it kind of clears us then.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Irwin Expert Electrical, your trusted destination for all things home appliances, electrical and entertainment in the Northwest. With over 50 years of leading the way, we pride ourselves on offering a diverse range of products under one roof. From top brands like LG, Samsung, Cooker, Bosch, Apple and more, take advantage of our free layaway service where you can store your new items until you're ready for them. Perfect for renovations and new build projects. Visit Irwin Expert Electrical today in Letterkenny or Buncrana.
Choosing to have a chicken fillet roll is easy. The hard part is butter or mayo, plain or spicy, coleslaw or cheese, coleslaw and cheese. Shop smart, feel good with Centra's meal deal. Get a chicken fillet roll with 2 fillings, select soft drinks and a small pack of potato, all for just $7.50 plus DRS deposit. Centra. Live every day.
At Vodafone, we know this is the age of new. New trends, new ideas, new tech. But don't forget the not so new. Like that old smartphone tucked away in a drawer. That smartphone is really e-waste. But trade it in with Vodafone and we'll recycle and repurpose it. And even put some money back in your pocket. In with the old. Search Vodafone Trade-In or go in store today. Vodafone. Together we can.
Trade-in eligibility criteria apply. For full terms, see vodafone.ie/terms.
Take the long way home in a 242 Volkswagen. Join Connolly's Volkswagen Letterkenny for our 242 Open Week taking place from the 20th to 25th of May. Discover our finance offers available across the range like the fully electric ID7, all-new Tiguan and the iconic 50th edition Golf. Each journey brings you closer to discovering something new. So take that detour and visit our showroom in Canal Road, Letterkenny during our 242 Open Week to avail of these offers, or call our team today to book a test drive on 074 91 22 333. Discover the range at connollys.ie. Terms and conditions apply.
Need a suit for a special occasion? Visit the menswear team at McElhenney's Ballybuffet. With a collection of mix and match suiting, our team will get you fully styled for your next event. McElhenney's Ballybuffet, where you can buy or hire a suit.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
We're driving the Citroën C4X on Dublin's most speed-bumped road, as voted by an online poll, to test Citroën's progressive hydraulic cushion suspension. The music is coming from a vinyl record playing on a record player set up in the back seat. Here comes a speed bump. Let's see if this record skips. Perfect. Went off without a scratch.
Book a test glide in a Citroën today. Visit citroen.ie.
It's time to transform your smile with the help of Blue Poppy Dental, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Their expert team offer orthodontics, teeth whitening, implants and composite bonding all in-house. Start your journey by calling 074 97 40404 or easily book your appointment online at a time that suits you through their user-friendly patient portal. Available anytime, anywhere at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dental and Orthodontics, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Gift vouchers available.
Summer is here and so is the hottest sale of the year at Easy Living Furniture. Absolutely everything reduced across sofa, dining, bedroom, mattress and accessories. The spectacular summer sale is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, Easy Living has it all.
Easy Living Furniture. Luxury furnishings, affordable luxury.
Looking for that Brooks experience? Try the new range at bmcsports.ie. New Ghost Max, Glycerin 21 or the Adrenaline GTS 23. Step into our safe size experience so we can fit the best trainer for your foot. Let us make your trainer experience the best it can be. Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Still putting up with frustratingly slow broadband? Don't wait any longer. Imagine's high-speed broadband is being installed right now. Sign up today to get our hero package for just $49.99, saving you €180. Visit imagine.ie or free phone 1800 938 407 to upgrade to faster broadband faster. Subject to location and availability. Minimum 18-month contract. Activation fees and annual price change of CPI plus 3% applies. Offer ends 30th of June. See imagine.ie for full terms and conditions.
Okay, you're welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. We are continuing our series of local election debates, all very exciting, and I get a sense that it's really kicking off now as we head towards polling day, early June. Just to remind you that coming up after 12 online, we have our next European debates. We'll have 4 candidates for you discussing the issues of the day, and there's a lot of overlap in a lot of the stuff that we're talking about. Okay, housing. I think, and obviously people can come in if they feel they wish to, but we'll go around clockwise from where I'm sitting on the issue of housing and what people might have to say about this. And I'll start with you, Labour's Jimmy Duffy. Housing, a big issue in the Glenties electoral area.
Yeah, housing is a big issue. We have a problem, as we alluded to earlier, holiday houses and holiday homes, some of them vacant because the owners are elsewhere, working in the country or working the UK or whatever, coming and going. Then there's others that's completely empty because a lot of the houses, and I just my local area here in Mulligaff, where right along the road, most of the houses is closed, and the reason why that is, and it's the whole way over to Angagri and the whole way, is that most of the houses that are presently occupied are occupied either by one person or a couple, and when they pass on, that house is left vacant because the family already have houses of their own.
So what do you want to do about that? So we've identified an issue. Do you have a solution?
The solution mightn't be as easy as one solution.
But do you think there should be any, I don't know, any tax or any other council/government moves to bring that housing back into, into permanent residency through sale or rent?
Yeah, I think there actually should be another grant, I suppose, in relation to the grant that's already in existence, to take that in, because I think it's to do with maybe the regulations of the housing regulations that cause them houses to be vacant in the first place. If we go back 20 years ago, a person, when the person would pass on, a person could walk into them houses right away, but now we need certain housing regulations. So we're actually shot.
But a lot of areas, but I'm saying so that genie's out of the bottle. A lot of areas of this county, not just the area that you talk of, you look out the front door and the hills are in darkness, the hills and valleys are in darkness, and you look out that same front door on a bank holiday weekend in Northern Ireland and it's lit up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, well, I myself, I live in the townland of Carrickfinn, and I and my brother are the only two growing up people.
Locals, effectively.
No. The only two people that was born in Carrickfinn that's living there at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah,
now, obviously, you'd like some votes out of Carrickfinn, so there's no harm in that.
Okay. But it's not that. I'm just saying that that's everywhere.
I get you. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, James. Thank you for that. John Reilly, Fianna Fáil. I mean, what could we actually do, I suppose, to provide more housing and maybe make use of all that vacant stock?
Well, you see, we're kind of homing in here on the vacant stuff that's lying there, and we're not looking into the other options.
Well, you do whatever you want to do. We're not here to talk about holiday homes.
On here, and I know first-hand experience, Greg, I've had this about the planning when I was trying to get my business off the ground, like the planning procedure. I'm not attacking the council. I think it needs to be discussed, could be made a lot easier. Like, I made a lot of hurdles when I had business, and John, they're shaking their head, agreeing that only for I, the go-to person in Noreen McGarvey, God rest her, she's not with us anymore. But I needed that go-to person because I was meeting a lot of challenges and trying to get my business off the ground, and it wasn't easy. But she was that person. That's what our councillors should be. We need to take it to the table to make the planning a lot easier. If you take the N56 at the minute, you can't build along that road. So anybody that has a plot of land, so they're telling you, we want you to build more houses, but you're stuck inside the zone of a town. You're not allowed to build a house along the N56. That needs to be addressed. We have the vacant houses and the estates that I'm seeing that we're not turning around. It could be simplified. Bring in local contractors and have a list of 8 or 10 of them on the books with the council and say, OK, with 6 contractors here, there's a house number 13 in such an estate, go and give us a quotation, turn it round as quick as you can. So we're kind of homing in on the holiday maker here and trying
it's just, listen, it's not that. I think when people talk about vacant houses,
it's a big broad range.
Of course it is. But in relation to building on the N56, I was of the view that the council as a whole opposed that, and this is really up to Dara O'Brien as to whether or not we get a derogation in that regard. Am I correct in that, Micheál Conlon?
We need to lobby is where it's safe to do so. You know, there is houses along that road at the moment.
The council are in the council.
Yeah, as councillors we are, and especially us in the West. The West is kind of mostly, I'm not saying all, but mostly affected. And
right, I'll come back to you on housing more generally. I just wanted to check that fact. Okay.
Enough, yeah.
So Anne Sweeney, independent. As I say, sorry, if I framed this was about holiday homes, I didn't intend to do so. It's just about.
No, we're going to sway in that
it's dealing. Well, that's fine. Sway it back. I'm easily swayed. Just about.
Okay. Let's not forget that the holiday homes have bought the homes from local people, and that's all added money to the local economy. And sometimes it's the only economy we have. There is massive issues about the fact that between Falcara and Dunfanaghy yesterday I counted about 20 homes, old homes that were not being used. Now, in order to incentivise people to sell them and allow them to be added to the housing stock, I think we need some kind of a deal where the council actually buy them and it becomes a tax-free purchase, and then they do them up. But to do that, they need to employ a team of workers that are actually employed by the council, say 20 people, and they can whack them out in a year. But the other thing is, we keep saying we have to send up to Dublin for the money to get the council houses ready in order to re-let them. It's absolutely crazy that should be the situation. Yes. So we have to look at the whole notion of landlordism and what that role plays in our society. And if we're going to say that housing is a human right and that we as the council should be providing housing. So let's take back the whole issue of councils building housing and those houses become an asset to the council and provide an income. Now, there's 160 billion on deposit from Irish depositors, and they're not spending it. So I'm saying that if we actually break it down into counties and come up with some kind of a plan, like a Tesla or whatever you call that thing. Tesla's probably one of them cars that hasn't been sold. But a special arrangement where if people invest in housing for the council to let out, that they would have like a 5-year tax-free allowance, or they would get a special rate. But it's not as if we haven't got the money in the country. It's just that the money's not being spent and there's no incentive to spend it. So I'm saying the council should go back to building houses and renting them out, and it become assets for the council.
But I mean, the word landlord come up there. If we didn't have landlords, I think we'd have an awful lot more than 13,000 people living in state-provided accommodation, wouldn't we? If we were relying solely on the state to provide accommodation. The landlord's not playing an important role.
Well, actually, Greg, the situation is that the landlord has actually been paid by the state. So it's a landlord to the state. So that's where the dilemma comes in. That's those
that can qualify for the HAP payment, I believe you're referencing there.
And it's exorbitant rents in Dublin.
€2,400
and
the
in
average rent in
Letterkenny
Dublin
at the moment, I think it's up to 1,600.
That's where we're at.
Yeah.
1,200 as an average across the whole county, 1,400, 13 as an average across the whole county.
If the council wasn't paying the HAP, the landlords couldn't charge that rent. It's not possible because people couldn't afford to pay it on the salaries they're being paid within the county.
A lot of landlords won't take it though, so there's obviously enough demand there in the private sector as well. Not to contradiction you, just go ahead please, Kevin O'Donnell, independent.
Yeah, so government are promising us 500,000 houses over the next 10 years, which is very welcome, hoping they can deliver on it. Now, I think, and it's a personal opinion of mine, and I think at least 50% of these houses should be affordable homes, that we don't lose our young people. What is happening in our country here, we're losing our young people because they can't afford mortgages. Now they're paying big rents. A young couple could be paying €1,500 or €1,600 a month in rent, and maybe their mortgage might only be $1,100 or $1,200. They can't get the mortgage. That is a big issue. So young people are emigrating, they're leaving our shores, going to work in America, Australia. They're going there to save to buy their house, or even to save to get a deposit for a house. That is a big issue. And it's terrible losing our young people over the head of this.
I can't remember exactly what it was, but when we were doing an outside broadcast from Dunloe, speaking to young people who were very ambitious and wanted to stay at home, but they couldn't fulfil their ambitions at home.
Yeah, and that is what's happening. And as well, I know John's brought it up earlier, planning issues. There's too many red flags in front of young people as well. I know a young lad not far from Glenties building a house on the family farm. took him about 5 years to get planning permission and cost him a lot of money. Now, if we want to encourage our young people to stay at home, young couples, there's too much going on and it's costing them too much money. So the planning regulations need to be looked at. And I know there's no planning, and Michael Collins maybe will address it, on the N56. But I spoke to a man about 2 weeks ago in the Dunlow area. His son was in England, wanted to come home to build a house on the family plot. He says he can't get planning permission. He says even if he uses my lane, he's still not allowed permission, which is a shame. So we're basically...
Yeah. And we had this fantastic initiative from the council where they went over to London encouraging people living and working over there to come home and live and work in Donegal. But housing is an issue. Michael Cholm, go ahead, please.
Yeah, look, you could do with an hour or two to talk about housing. Housing, like I said earlier, Greg, is a really important issue for me. Obviously, because of my community, I'm lucky enough to own my own home now. But it wasn't always that case for me. I've really struggled in housing, both here, Donegal, Ballyclea and in England. And so I'm quite passionate, and I spend a lot of my time on housing. And first and foremost, we must recognise why we have a housing crisis and who that crisis is for. It's a crisis for those who are looking homes, but not for the big landlords. And that's a deliberate, and we have to talk about that there, that's a deliberate policy both by Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, and would have been shared by other political parties that were in government as well, that they would stop building, and we stopped providing the finances to county councils to build homes. And the ideology was that it would look towards the private market to meet that need. And in West Donegal, and I'm somebody that works very much
just in about
around...
a minute, if you don't mind.
Okay, I work a lot around the tourism stuff, but I also... we need to look at the tourism and how it's impacting on us. And I think Anne touched it. Geez, we're real buddies here today, Anne. But as around the regulation of Airbnb and how that's impacting on us now. Now, we can't put the blame on the private market either, because the private market are doing what the private market does. It's a clear failure that we're not building, and we're not going back to what we were saying earlier, that the council starts building houses. The government can step in and put a rent cap on it. The idea that we're one of the most lowest wage base within the whole Free State, right? And the idea that we're paying anything up to $1,200 or $1,400 a month just to rent a house, and that's immoral. And the government could step in and do something about it, the same way that they choose not to step in and do something about it because it's about profit. And
I'm not sure, but it's not a very popular view that you have, if I'm not misquoting you, that people who choose, they have a accidental second property in many cases, they don't want to rent it long term because they don't want to get tied up with RTB, they don't want to have issues with getting people out of the property or whatever, and they can rent it in an open market, an Airbnb. You're of the view, are you, that they should be taxed out of that and encouraged into long-term rental?
What my view on it is, right, I use Airbnb if I have to travel, of course, right? We all do. Anybody that travels uses Airbnb. For me, it's about regulating that Airbnb sector, that people then are not in a position that in West Donegal that we're all Airbnb, that there are long-term private, but ideally we would need to build homes for people forever. We as a council, all we done was build 6 houses.
I have no time, James.
6 houses we built in my last term in 5 years, and I'm willing to admit, because I have to, because I'm a part of the decision making, I also have failed in not delivering the houses that we need. It's an absolute disgrace. That's not a positive note to finish on, but I have to be honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's okay. A minute, Joseph. You can take a bit longer if you need it, but preferably a minute.
Well, listen, we're still on the housing subject here. Somebody else mentioned, actually a couple of you have mentioned, like planning is something that needs to be simplified and speeded up, because if we want to help them build new houses, and as they've said, the youth, we have to sort something out there. you can have the carrot or the stick approach to some of the vacant houses that we're talking about, whereas I think that the carrot's a better way. Make it more advantageous for them to rent the houses with regards to taxation, maybe grants for certain houses that aren't in that bad a state, and I do believe that's the way forward there, to open up some of that. But as I said, the planning issue I do believe is a major one.
All right, listen, thank you so much. I really do appreciate all of you coming in to us. Micheál, Colin, McGill and Esbuig, Kevin O'Donnell, Joseph Molloy, Jimmy Duffy, John Reilly and Sweeney. I wish you all the very, very best of luck. And thank you so much for your contributions. It's very much appreciated. OK, that's where we have to leave it for today on our local elections debates. We'll be back tomorrow just after 10 with another panel to discuss the big issues of the day. But that's where we're going to leave it now. Just to remind you, if you want to hear the latest European election debates, then get onto our YouTube channel, our Facebook channels, our X channels, where we'll be broadcasting live there very, very shortly. But for now, we'll take a break for the news.
The 9 till noon show with Letter